If you've spent any amount of time in a Reddit community or a YouTube comment section, I'm sure you have come across the mention of heists. It's crazy to think they haven't made it into the game yet, but I took this as an opportunity to come up with some of my own ideas for such an update, even past just regular robberies and crimes. Because why would you plan a heist if there was no real purpose behind it? I don't think we necessarily need more ways to make money and gold, unless there is also a great and permanent reward attached to it. I find it important that everything in your online experience feels connected, and that is why all my ideas for heists are linked to the in-game roles that we already have. But I will get to those a little later on, because not everything should be tied to a role in my opinion. A heist update should first and foremost cover the basics of crimes, finally making the robbery of banks, trains, stores, stations and post office available to everyone regardless of their role. Emptying cash registers doesn't need a quest giver in my opinion, and you should always be able to go and intimidate those poor hardworking souls. Bank robberies, however, are a bit more complicated and dangerous, which is why I believe we need one man and one man only to join the game. And that's Micah Bell. I want him in online so bad, and I could perfectly see him as your go-to man for bank robberies. Unlike every other quest giver who tells you what to do and then just proceeds to sit on their ass all day while you do all the dirty work, he could accompany you and your posse, making this a perfect opportunity to fill in some of his backstory and life before he met Dutch. For your first encounter with him, he could appear as a random quest marker after you have completed several small-scale robberies by yourself. In such a quest, you could walk in on him laying down dynamite to blow open the back of a bank in the middle of the night, or maybe he's already holding people at gunpoint and as circumstance would have it, you get caught up in it, and by defending your own life, you involuntarily help him out and voila, you've got yourself a new contact. From then on, you could meet him at Joe's cabin to start planning your bank robbery missions. Depending on the location you want to rob, the difficulty could vary, making Saint Denis the most difficult, while the bank in Armadillo would likely be the easiest, but also the least profitable, if there even is anything left in that place. Micah's acquaintance could serve as a bridge to the larger scale role heists as well. It's not absolutely necessary, but I would be all for it. Clearing banks is great, but besides money and gold, what can you really get out of it? Especially if the game doesn't offer enough to spend your hard-earned money on anyways. That's why I think role-specific heists are offering more in-depth and unique missions and targets. Before I dive into this, I want to add though that I see them more as a role expansion rather than a one-and-all heist update. I'm not saying I wouldn't like that, I just think it's extremely unlikely, especially in the way that I envision it. I've come up with concepts for all roles except for the bounty hunter. The reason being that there has already been a pretty big expansion for it, but maybe I'll come up with something someday, but for now I'm limiting it to the other 4 professions. So let's take a look at the trader. Your business with Crips is doing pretty well, but why not dream a little bigger? You've got your little wagon, but demand is high and you could do with an expansion of your business. The railroad is a profitable way of transportation and you want a piece of that cake. So, your goal is set. You want a train, your own train, or at least your own cargo wagons and someone who's willing to deliver them. This would be a multi-step heist, as most of them would be. You target the railroad, but not just for a wagon to make your own, but also a very specific new technology. Around this time, the first cooling box cars were experimented on, and while they weren't anywhere close to what is used today, they certainly were useful in keeping meat, dairy, and other foods fresher. None of this is useful to you without goods to ship though. I think besides your regular 100 materials, a wagon could hold up to 200 or even 250. You wouldn't need to hunt endlessly to fill them up though. There would be replayable trader heists that target places like slaughterhouses, general stores, and other shops and businesses. They would need a setup with a vehicle and a meeting point with a train driver to offload what you've stolen. They could be done quietly at night or less discreet during the day. If you're moving livestock, you could also make use of the sedative ammunition if you are a naturalist or have one with you. Your permanent reward for completing a trader heist for the first time would be new high-quantity train deliveries. You can either drive and deliver them yourself or get an NPC to do it for you in exchange for a small cut of the money. From that point on, you can refill the wagon with your usual hunting or by planning and executing these heists. If you completed the Stranger mission in story mode, you might remember Charles Châtenay and the art exhibition. He could be in on a heist with the goal of stealing expensive art pieces for the collector role. There are multiple places you could steal art from, be it the art gallery, from trains, or from properties in Saint-Denis. Charles could tell you about the pieces, likely all from people he cannot stand, and he gives you the information he has. You go and scout the area, and you have to track them down and quietly steal them, then sell them off to Madame Nazar for profit. Especially here, I think lockpicks and maybe new ways of breaking and entering could be used, such as going in through windows or climbing in through a chimney. Depending on what you're stealing, you would need a getaway car or a train to catch, maybe a stagecoach or delivery wagon you could hide in while it drove you out of town. As a reward for completing the heist once, you could perhaps unlock the ominous posse collections they once mentioned in an interview. I mean, we still don't know what they are, but we'd have something new to do. Or there could be a new collection set, and every time you complete and sell it, you unlock new items and outfits. Maybe some of them being Easter eggs too, like an OG outfit of John from RDR1 or something like that. Ideally not worth 52 gold bars. If we move on to the Moonshiner, heists could be a way to expand your shack and business. Stealing new recipes that require new ingredients, maybe exotic fruits like mangoes. I also looked up when vodka was first made in the US, and apparently that was in the 20th century. So I thought it could be interesting if you obtained a super secret vodka recipe and made a ton of money from vodka distillation and selling it. Doing the Moonshine heists could unlock shack expansions such as a new area for minigames of your choice, be that dominoes, arm wrestling or blackjack that could be bought from Maggie. Now, the Naturalist is sort of the problem child of the game. I don't hate the idea of the role, but as it is right now, it doesn't make new content easy to come up with without giving the whole thing an overhaul. But I think anything involving animal rescue is possible for heists. Animal testing was, while cruel, crucial for medical breakthroughs, as it still is today, but Harriet would make it clear that she'd prefer to test new chemicals on humans instead. Perhaps you'd break into a facility for medical testing, and besides freeing the animals held captive there, she might ask you to steal chemicals as well. Since she's so fond of drugging us, maybe there is also a possibility of starting a drug and poisons business with her. This would be a walk down disaster lane, but I'm all for it. Naturalist rewards I came up with could be access to new and exotic legendary animals, maybe even a circus or theater edition with giant pythons or a lion. And even better than that, doing her heists could allow you to take your dog with you as a companion. I don't know if this is actually something Rockstar could program, but you know, it's already happening as a glitch, so maybe. If not that, please let me train and feed my dog at least. I'd really love that. For now, this is all that I have come up with. As a rule for all heists, I think there should be stealth and guns blazing options if possible. Maybe even missions where you have to dress up to fit into certain places to get access to information. But I think at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how robberies, heists or crimes would be implemented, because any and all addition of it would greatly improve the game. And I know it's always easy to make up these updates in your head when you have no history in game development, and sadly I doubt we'll ever see anything like this. The most realistic thing to happen is probably robberies and small-scale heists, which would be fine and better than nothing, but you know, it's fun to imagine past that. I hope you liked some of these ideas, and I appreciate any and all feedback and additional ideas that you might have. I've greatly enjoyed reading your thoughts on my farming video, and I thank you so much for all the nice comments in general. And the people who subscribed are absolute legends. Thank you so much for that. For now, this is all I have, and I'll see you around. Adios.